In 1986, Nissan eliminated the Datsun brand in the US, controversially wiping out over a decade of name recognition, and suddenly every one of their cars was now a Nissan. But why? Why did they cancel Datsun, and why decades later did they try to bring it back only to fail and cancel it again? Well, welcome back to All Cars, y'all. If you're new here, my name is John, and this is When Datsun Became Nissan. To explain, we need to start back in 1914 with the DAT. The Kwaishinsha Motor Car Works of Tokyo, translated as a good company automobile manufacturer, was founded in 1911 and in 1914 created a new car and named it for the initials of the three company partners, DAT. The name was pronounced in Japanese as Dato, and it meant generally to dash off like a startled rabbit. But with limited consumer market for cars at the time, they focused on producing trucks. In 1925, the company changed its name to DAT Motor Car Company and merged with another company in 1926. In 1930, the Japanese government declared that any car with an engine under 500 cc's could be driven without a license. So the company developed a new small car they called the Datsun, or Son of Dot. The first vehicle was the Type 10, and they only sold about 10 of them in 1931. In 1932, it was renamed the Type 11, and they sold around 150. Back in 1928, and not far away in Yokohama, Yoshisuke Ayakawa took over the Kuhara Mining Company from his brother-in-law and reorganized its assets into one of Japan's zaibatsu, or vertically integrated conglomerates that dominated Japan's economy. The translated name of the company was the Nihon Sangyo Corporation, or Nissan for short. At the time, automotive parts were just one aspect of the business, which also included real estate, insurance, mining, Hitachi, and more, including a company called Tobata Casting. And 1933 was an eventful year for DAT. First, they merged with Tobata, beginning Nissan's automobile manufacturing. Second, the name was changed to Datsun, with an U, reminiscent of the rising sun on the Japanese flag, but also because sun with an O in Japanese can be translated as loss or perhaps loser. Third, the government raised the engine size from 500 cc's to 750 cc's, and the company responded and called the new car the Type 12. In 1934, Tobata Casting was reformed as Nissan Motor Company Limited. Exports to Australia started in 1935, and by 1937, the company produced nearly 8,600 cars. Japan went to war with China in 1937, so the company focused on truck production for the military, and after the end of World War II in 1945, they made trucks for the occupying Allied forces, resuming car production in 1947. Basing their products on designs by Austin, Devon, Chevy, Jeep, and trucks and manufacturing expertise from Graham Page, the company didn't produce its own design until 1955, the year the occupation returned production to local control, and the company introduced their 110 sedan and 120 pickup. Nissan executive Yutaka Katayama, or Mr. K, had been with the company since 1935 and was appointed president of North American operations. Once they began exporting to California in 1958 and nationwide in 1959, Mr. K advocated strongly that they should keep the Datsun name, not for the least reason that the U.S. service members who had fought in World War II and who remembered Nissan as a military producer might avoid the brand. He considered the Datsun name uncorrupted by the war. He always believed Datsun could grow to challenge Detroit and the best of the world. He brought Japanese engineers over to the U.S. to drive cars in real conditions, and his previous work at the company set the template for taking customer feedback to engineers to improve their vehicles. He was quoted as saying, "What we need to do is improve our car's efficiency gradually and creep up slowly before others notice. Then, before Detroit realizes it, we will have become an excellent car manufacturer, and the customers will think so too. If we work hard to sell our own cars, we won't be bothered by whatever the other manufacturers do. If all we do is worry about the other cars in the race, we will definitely lose." Importing to America brought on a torrent of new products. In 1958, it was the 1000, based on the same platform as their 220 pickup and their 210 sedan in Japan. 1959 brought the 310, known as the Bluebird, and a pickup version. 61 brought the 1200 and their first sports car, the 1200 Roadster. 1965 brought their 320 truck. 66 brought the Datsun Sunny, which was later known as the Sentra here in the US. 1967 brought the Nissan Patrol as a competitor to the Land Cruiser J40 and Land Rover, and is still sold today as the Armada. 1967 also brought the 411 four-door sedan and the 2000 Roadster. And in 1968, the famous 510, styled in the US, was offered as a two-door, a four-door, and a five-door wagon. 1971, their sales crossed 250,000 units, and by 1973, they had sold their 1 millionth vehicle, later establishing a design center in the US in 1979. And in 1970 came the iconic 240Z, based on their Bluebird and with a 2.4-liter engine. In 74, it became the 260Z, and in 75, the 280Z. 72 also brought the 620 pickup. 1976 brought the 200SX based on their Nissan Silvia. 1977 brought the King Cab version of their pickup. 1981, the Nissan Maxima replaced the Datsun 810. And in 1984, the Nissan pickup was being built at their factory here in Smyrna, Tennessee, initially with both Datsun and Nissan badging. Mr. K was forced into retirement in 1977 and is famous among the faithful for being the driving force behind bringing the sporty 510 with its 1.6-liter engine and conceiving and delivering the Z car. But back in Japan, the movement to drop the Datsun name gained momentum. In the fall of 1981, Nissan announced the Datsun name would be retired and all cars would be Nissans worldwide, building one global brand recognition, a sore point for executives watching the success of Toyota and Honda become household names. The transition took several years with multiple confusing choices such as the new 82 Stanza and Sentra labeled Nissans, but the equally new Maxima being a Datsun. Outside the US, some models were labeled Datsun Nissans for a few years as well. All in all, the cost of changing the signage on all 1,100 Datsun dealers, plus new badging for the cars and advertising the name change, cost Nissan about $500 million over about 4 years, or about $1.8 billion in 2025 money. And 5 years after the name change, Datsun still had a higher name recognition than Nissan. Then in 2012, Nissan CEO Carlos Ghosn announced that they were going to revive the Datsun brand as a lineup of low-cost cars for emerging markets. Unfortunately, that placed them against Hyundai, Tata, and Suzuki, already well-established, low-price, and relatively well-equipped. Their first car was the Datsun Go, and it launched in India in 2014 and expanded to Indonesia, Nepal, South Africa, and Russia. A 1.2-liter three-cylinder city car based on Nissan's Micra and starting near $5,000 US, and got a 0-star global NCAP crash test rating. Datsun sales expanded to Kazakhstan, Belarus, and Lebanon by 2016, with the lineup adding the Go Plus and Cross models, as well as the On-Do for Russia, the Me-Do, and the Ready Go. In 2018, Carlos was arrested for allegedly misusing company assets and underreporting income by about $80 million. He later famously fled Japan in luggage to Lebanon, where he remains to this day. With the embarrassment of the arrests, low profits on poor sales, and few internally fighting for Ghosn's pet project, by 2020 production in Indonesia and Russia was stopped, and in 2022 production in India was shut down, ending Datsun once again. As a cool trivia factoid, between 2001 and 2002, the Nissan pickup D22 model in Japan was named the Nissan Datsun. But of course, that was just for one model. And of course, in this video, I did do my best with the pronunciation of Japanese words. Please forgive me if I got it a little bit wrong. I want to thank my Patreons for their support. And if you like this video, well, there is a button for that below. And you'll probably love this one here as well. Third, the government raises the cut. All in all, the cost of changing the signage on all 111, cut, as it had a touchscreen but no BS, and got a 0-star global NCAP cash $1,000 US. Its priorities were evidence, misusing company assets and underreporting. In 2018, Carlos was arrested for allegedly